My last name is Lee.
Lalinoa.
Ever mai, and tune in to our podcast, Lalinoa Podcast. I've got a special guest here. I've got Cyrus Habibi-Likio here in the Kingdom of Tonga. First, before we start, welcome to Tonga.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here. It's been a blast so far.
Cyrus, before we get into why I've got you here, I'm a massive fan of your social media content, but I want to start in the beginning. Just looking at the profile of your social media, it says pro athlete, and I want to start with that. Get into that first before we go into the content, Cyrus.
Yeah, most definitely. So I started my career off first playing college. I'm at the University of Oregon with the Oregon Ducks, and then Boise State University, which is another school out there in America. And then after that, I had my glimpse with the 49ers and the Houston Texans, was kind of bouncing around the NFL. And then after that, I play in a league called the UFL, which is owned by, if you guys know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
So that's in the springtime. It's basically like a reserve league for the NFL for guys to get back into it.
Cyrus, just looking at your name, Cyrus Habibi-Likio. First, go with the origin of the middle name, and then we'll get into your last name, which is the Tongan name.
Yeah, most definitely. So Habibi is my mom's last name. I'm half Iranian, so that comes from Tehran, Iran, which is where my family's from, which is the capital. They migrated over. And then my mom ended up meeting my father, right, in college, which is Likio, which is our Tongan last name. Not the most Tongan last name, but originates from, if you guys know, Lee, which is now Likio.
Cyrus, talking about your Tongan heritage, I know you're here in Tonga. You've brought your family to Tonga, and we'll talk more about that. But how important is that for you to identify as a Tongan man?
I think it's very important. It's a big part of who I am, and I wanted to make sure that it's a big part of who my immediate, right, my two sons and my wife. That's who we are. So I brought them out here. You know, my wife, she's Spaniard from America, right? Doesn't really know anything, right, about the Polynesian culture, yet alone Tongan. So I wanted to bring them out here. I wanted my kids to grow up, learn the Tongan way, interact with the Tongan kids, and also myself and my wife as well, just to interact with the people here, learn the culture. I feel like in America, we're kind of, as Tongans, we're a little bit oblivious of what it's like on the island here. You know, some people may think there's not enough here, or maybe it's too much here. So I just wanted to put my family in this situation, in this environment, to, you know, for my kids to grow up and know the Tongan way, and obviously for us as well. And so I've been documenting the whole thing. I just want to be able to show it off to everyone and show, hey, Tonga is the best island in the world.
And it's very true. Cyrus, you mentioned documenting everything. What sparked up that interest of you getting into social media? It's now a trend, but not many does it well to be able to hit the so-called, what they call it, the so-called viral videos and all that. But what was it in you that you thought that I'm going to start documenting my life on social media? Yeah,
most definitely. So for me, I guess have always been in front of the camera, playing sports my whole life. To me, it's very natural. I love being in front of the camera. I love to, show off or perform in some type of way. And once social media started getting big, it was something that kind of came natural to me, if that makes sense. I think some people, maybe they have to force it or maybe they don't. But for me, it was very natural. It was second nature to me. And just for me, I just wanted to document my whole life. It really honestly started with sports. Sports is known to be very serious, right? Hey, when it's season time, no distractions, right? But I also wanted to show, at the end of the day, sports, it started off with a game, in the front yard or playing in the street, as a kid. and you can still have that fun with sports. So that's what I used my social media first, was to just show that, hey, I know this life is very serious. It's very hardcore. We're training every day. You know, you have to be perfect when you play, but you can have fun. So for me, that's how it kind of all started. And then I started realizing, hey, marketing and social media is the biggest thing, right? For any type of brand. And everyone thinks when it's a brand, they think it's just like maybe a store or it's some type of product. But at the end of the day, the most important brand is your self-brand, right? And how you promote yourself. So I just pretty much treated my identity and who I am as a storefront, basically. Hey, I want to be able to market it. And, you know, some people, they could have the best product in the world, better than their competition. But if the marketing isn't good, right, and it's not getting out there, then people are not going to shop for it. So for me, I just use social media as a big marketing tool to just show off who I am and my culture and my family. And at the end of the day, that it's all fun.
Back then, Cyrus, the likes of yourself and many other athletes or pro athletes, we used to watch them on the television or watch post-interview or pre-game interview. And that would be kind of like what we saw and what we knew. Social media has come in and you're able to kind of get an insight, whether it's just a glimpse that you guys allow us in when it comes to social media, but it gets an insight. Please talk about the positive and the negative of that.
So, I mean, for our family, with my wife and I would say we're pretty public. You know.
I see it.
But there is a side of it where, you know, we tried to keep things off of social media as far as like if there's problems at home, like we're not going to bicker and show that, you know, some you know, families, they show it all, right? But for us, there's a certain, you know, amount of privacy that we like to, you know, a standard that we like to uphold. But as far as just documenting, you know, everything that we're doing, I think it's just more for, I mean, it's great, right? It's awesome to get the views and the comments, but really just to show off that it goes back to having fun and enjoying life. Like for us, we just want to be able to show, hey, like for instance, for this trip, take the risk, right? Pay the money for take the ticket and go, right? And go experience life, go have fun. And some people, maybe they're not fortunate or maybe enough to do it, or maybe they're just kind of on the border. And so that's what we kind of use our social media for, is to just, hey, take the chance, right? Go out there and go do it. But as far as, you know, when it comes to social media, I think there also is, from a consumer standpoint, for the people that are commenting, I think people lose sight of the fact that, hey, we still have feelings. We're human beings. But I think a lot of people feel a little indestructible, you know, behind with the comments. But as you become a creator, and for people who want to become a creator, you almost have to just become kind of numb to those things and realize, hey, some of these people, they don't actually mean that. They just are behind a screen and they'll message you. But maybe in person, they're actually a really nice person, or they just were having a bad day, and they use the social media to kind of deflect whatever problems they have going on. So at the end of the day, when you are a creator, we are human beings. We have feelings, but we have to be able to become numb to some of the comments that go on.
But that's true. Cyrus, I know, and we have been advocating in our platform positive content, and that's what I've seen with your social media page. But what I've loved recently is just the countdown from the United States to hopping, packing, the amount of packing that was one thing I kept watching over and over, to hopping on the aircraft, to coming to Tonga and highlighting Tonga, and you know that Sunday post you just did, and going around in town and showing that we keep our Sunday Sabbath you know, sacred,
very sacred.
You know, as of yesterday or the day before, it hit a million views. How important is that whole not only just a million views, but how important is highlighting Tonga in your page?
Man, it is very important. I think that's the kind of the main reason why we jumped on this journey to come here, is to just show off how great this island is, the certain ways that, you know, we go about things. And for me, right, I'm obviously not the most Tongan, you know, I'm half, and you know, I grew up in an American way, but at the same time, I think it's showing people in America or New Zealand or Australia, right, that that this is the way that we do things, and the fact that it got 1 million views, which is amazing. That's 1 million new eyes maybe on the island, or I'm sure there's people who know about Tonga, but I'm sure there's a percentage where they had no idea, where Tonga is or what Tonga is, And so for me, that was huge for it just to hit 1 million views, because I mean, how many people are in the kingdom of Tonga?
Right now, they say 100,000, but I think it's less now, but it's 100,000 here in Tonga.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
about 100,000.
10 times, right, the amount of people that just for some views, and maybe there's some controversy at the bottom. They always say controversy creates engagement.
Yeah.
But some people are saying, hey, Sabbath is this.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's a giant dialogue in the comment section.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people are still interacting. And the fact that they're interacting around the subject that it's Tonga, it's our island.
Yeah.
So for me, it was huge, right? It's just such a blessing. And I've had, posts go like 16 million views, 14. But for me, that was the best post. And I'm happy that it was about Sundays here.
Yeah, it's about Sundays here.
It could have been about the beach or how nice, Anahulu looks or something like that. But no, it was about Sundays here. And I really feel that was God working to use social media to get people to really just see what our Sundays are about. And
it's when I watched it, I know being brought up here and just you're already accustomed to the Sunday. Having that outside look into the Sunday here in Tonga was a beautiful thing. And just the way you said, I wonder you asked that question. I wonder if America had that one day to reset, what would it have done to the economy? Yeah. Obviously, it would have sparked up conversation, but again, the best thing is to just have a conversation about the country, and it was a beautiful thing to see. Talking about the social media, one thing I have noticed and loved is when people in America, or cannot imagine who is following your page and from anywhere in the world. When they hear Tonga, they look it up in a map and they see a little dot. And then automatically, when they're about to come to Tonga, they will be like, oh, it's a dot. We need to pack this. We need to pack this. We need to pack this. What I've also noticed is you also highlighting a few of our local businesses here in Tonga and showing the world that, imagine if you're someone who's never heard of Tonga and sees your post, and then you're at a hardware store, or you're at the coffee place or the bakery or wherever, and you're like, oh, actually, we don't need to pack that. We don't need to pack that. I've seen Cyrus's post. Yeah. They have that. They have everything. That. So like just I know you highlight the beauty, and you've been to the Hamonga. You highlighted Tonga, but how important was it to highlight the local businesses here in Tonga? I think it's huge. It's funny because when we were packing our puha, we were just like, my wife was very like, oh, like we need to pack wipes and shampoo and this, and you know how heavy shampoo gets, the big, the big ones, right? And I was just telling her, I was like, we have all that here. Yeah. And so she was just so shocked. It's because I knew, right? From being here previous times, everything that's here. But it's funny to see my wife, her reaction. She's like, oh, they have Dove soap here, and oh, they have this. They have everything here, right? They have everything and anything you need. Now I get it. Like let's say you guys are coming from out the country. Yeah. You have your essentials or maybe certain brands that are only in your country, like for face wash or just certain things you like. Bring it, right? Yeah. But as far as the basic essential needs and beyond, right? We have it all here. And for instance, we went to Cowley Bakery and I just had the best bread I've ever had in my life, right? And that's here, like you said, it's on a small dot on the map. Yeah. And I'm out here living in America, which is, grand of grand. It has everything and anything. And I just had the best bread I ever had here, So that's the bread we all grew up on. Yeah, exactly. So, it's just, like I said, that I wanted to just highlight, right, that there's so much things here. There's all these Tongan-owned businesses. I've had some of the best lattes here, right? The best bread, some of the best hamburgers, and that's American food, So, so a lot of people that are, and that was what the content was about, and even this that we'll use, and it's kind of an announcement to people. Hey, Tonga has pretty much everything and anything you need. Just book the ticket and come, and you'll see. That's true. Cyrus, we see this with someone like me or people out there have followed the countdown from America to hopping on the flight to coming to Tonga, to experiencing Tonga, and also bringing your family, your wife and two boys here, and get to. I actually saw a funny video you did at Hamonga, where you're like eating the grass and touching them. I feel that I'm with my ancestors and all that. But like these little funny videos is getting attention. But is that something that you and your family are looking at, like one day making Tonga home, or making Tonga a second home, or having a holiday home, or anything like that?
Yeah. So put it this way, right? And everyone knows back home, I'm the most California American of the American, right? Yeah, we definitely want to make Tonga a second home, whether it's like we're doing 2 months here, but we want to build a house, on some land that we have. And once we build the house, we don't mind doing, 3-4 months, once a year, come out and just live out here. Like I said, I think my kids, even putting them in some type of school here, I think it's big for them to learn the language, and myself. Ever since I've been here, I've been learning so much.
Yeah,
right?
I hear it on some of your voiceovers. I hear it. You put in a few Tongan words in there.
And I've actually been, for the past couple months. I've been a guy named Leki Mahe. I've been taking a class with him. So Lea Whakatonga class.
Yeah.
We just it's been awesome because I hear so many things. I used to tell people like, hey, do you understand how to speak Tongan, or do you know how to speak Tongan? I said, hey, I just know how to get yelled at. That's pretty much it.
I know all the bad words.
Yeah, exactly. I know all the commands and the bad words, but to be able to I took a class for about maybe 2 months before I came out here, and now that I can kind of put words together and know everything's saying and what everybody's saying, and it's been great, and we love it here, and most definitely want to build a house, maybe a couple businesses, and make it a second home, because like I said, we love it here, and I think a lot of people, like you said, it's a small dot on the map, so it's hard to trust it, from the outside perspective. But again, just book the ticket, come and see for yourself, and you guys will enjoy it.
One of the content you posted was you arrive. And this is public because it's on his page. The house is in Mu'a. You go in there, and I think maybe and this is a conversation we had before we jumped on the interview. Your grandma might have said that, the roof is a bit broken, and you got in there and the roof was broken, like it needed a whole new roof. And then automatically you jumped on renewing the roof. Just coming back and getting that chance to do something at the house, especially a house here in Tonga. How did that feel for you?
Hey, man, it's amazing because like you and I had talked about earlier, I have a lot of family coming in from New Zealand, from Australia, some from America, and they're my elders, right? They're my grandma's brothers. So the fact that they get to come here to a nice, clean house, no leaks in the roof, to be able to contribute and know that they're going to come here on vacation and be comfortable, right, and safe, is probably one of the best feelings, I've ever had. And shout out to the boys, our family, they hooked it up and they did an amazing job on the roof, and PTH, they did all the supplies, and same thing, right, with PTH. I was like, this looks like, so we have something called Home Depot back home.
Yeah. And I saw that.
I'm like, this is Home Depot, know, and it's funny because Home Depot and PTH, they're both orange and white, the orange, type of logo, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in Home Depot right now, and it just shocks me because I'm thinking, again, from someone who is oblivious and looking from the outside in, you see Tonga, right? It's a small dot on the map. Yeah. I'm thinking like, there's going to be nothing.
Yeah.
I go in there, they have lawnmowers, drills, and all products like, that are in America, Milwaukee, DeWalt, all those type of brands. So it was amazing. The fact that, the roof is pretty much done now. They're going to come here. I even added some hot water in the house, I saw
that.
Because, man, we
can, but maybe not the wives and the kids.
I didn't mind it because we have to take the ice back.
Yeah.
So the water here is like, this is fine. But Yeah, you know, and the elders too. I'm like, we're not gonna do.
No.
We'll do the Tongan way. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We'll deal with the bugs and
But,
this and that. We'll sit on the floor and eat with our hands. You know, we love it. But the cold water is just it's debatable.
We need to do something about that. When we were having coffee earlier, the lady at the coffee shop came up and said, "Oh, can I take a photo with you, Cyrus? And I follow you, and can I take a photo of you and your wife and all that?" You do these videos, and then obviously you just you actually have fun doing it because it's something you want to do, and then you post it. How does that feel to be able to hear your people say, "Man, I love your content. I want to take a photo with you," and all that? How does that feel?
It's lovely. It's an amazing feeling. It's very grounding for me, very humble. Makes me feel very humble. The fact that people are taking, time. Everyone works hard here on this island, and the fact that people are taking time out their day to consume my content and flip through it and I guess recognize and acknowledge the fact that we're here is amazing. I honestly did some of the content more for people outside of the island.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how much
people here,
right, that are retaining all the information and watching the videos and loving it. So it fills my heart with joy to see that people are recognizing it. And like I said, they're very hardworking people. They're going about their days, making ends meet, and the fact that they're coming up, hey, like, we saw your content, and it's been maybe like 3-4 times a day at this point. And it's awesome to see because, for me, right, just growing up half Tongan, like I said, my family like, hey, this guy is the least Tongan one. He's doing the most Tongan things. Like, what's going on here, And so to me, to get that recognition from this side, the validation, it makes, I guess, the younger me very happy. The fact that, hey, I'm getting acknowledgement from this side of my family, and it's awesome. It's been amazing.
You mentioned something that sparked up a question when you said, "Oh, my family," saying, "Oh, the guy that's least Tongan, doesn't look Tongan, doesn't really speak it, and he's the one doing the most Tongan," and especially now renovating our family home in Tonga. Had that been something that you struggle with, or not? Maybe struggle might be the wrong word, but had to go through, especially growing up and being proud Tongan, but not getting that recognition from the Tongan.
Yeah, most definitely. I think I could speak for a lot of the Afkasi people. It's like, I don't know, you're maybe too Tongan for the Palangi people, but not Tongan enough for for the Tongan people, if that makes sense. And it is something kind of that you, especially when there's kind of a language barrier. Like I said, I always knew, like I understood everything, right? But it was the language barrier of speaking, and and as I started taking this Tongan class, I realized, man, I can actually speak a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
I think it was just feeling a little ashamed or kind of not comfortable to speak. Like, I grew up, every Sunday in Tonga church. Like, so all the sermons, everything, was all in Tongan, but I had to do my lau lesonis, all that stuff. So for me, it was just because maybe I didn't look like everybody else, and like I said, but we talked about earlier, before I got my tribal tattoos, I would see Tongans in public, and they, I would kind of like, hey, like, because I knew they were Tongan, they wouldn't even bat an eye. They're like, who is this Miko or Arabian guy, like, trying to get my attention, so but it is something you kind of struggle with, just because, especially when you come from, like, my mom is Iranian, very big culture, right?
Yeah.
Same from the Tongan side.
Yeah.
That's two things that on both sides.
Yeah. Similar in that way. Yeah.
Everyone's very prideful about their country, their culture. So it's hard when you're kind of stuck in the middle. You're in between two very strong cultures, and it's like, man, I feel like I'm not Tongan enough here and maybe not Iranian enough here. So it's like, I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think that's also why, I guess selfishly, why I brought everyone out here is to find that, seek the validation, if that makes sense, just to really fit in and learn about my culture, because why not, the best way to I guess not be more Tongan, I don't want to, it kind of sounds wrong to say that, but just to really embrace the culture is is put yourself in the middle of the environment, and that's what we've done.
And I love it because, you know, when you watch the content, one thing that pops up is being authentic with all your posting and your experience, not just in Tonga, but even the stuff you posted in the US, but especially in Tonga, it feels authentic. That word, authentic, that word, it's a massive one, because being authentic to yourself and being able to put out content that resonates with people, that naturally just come along with your content. And
so in the beginning, I was just because I was kind of playing more football. It was my identity. It was before I kind of had kids. That's what I was really focusing on, was because it was who I was, right? Then I realized the authenticity, like being authentic, is I'm not always going to be a football player, right? So then I started, you know, once I had a family, my wife, I started including my everyday life, and I got advice a couple years back. There's these guys in America that they're actually Canadian, but they have like hundreds and millions of subscribers on YouTube. They're called the Nelk Boys. They're like probably one of the biggest YouTube people in America, and they told me, he's like, hey, just the best thing is be consistent and be yourself, because when you're not yourself, right, it's almost like a job, right? You get up, and you know, for me, for my example is, I would get up and I'd have to go to the field and film content with a helmet on. You get burnt out, right? When you're not authentic, right, you get very burnt out, you know. So if you're just being yourself every day, and all you got to do is set a camera up and you know, you'll never get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
So I think being authentic and being consistent is the two best things if you really want to do content. You'll never get burnt out. You just do what you do every day.
Yeah,
but
just having a camera there.
Yeah, record some pieces of it. And like I said, we talked kind of earlier about the privacy. You don't have to record everything. And that's the power of being able to edit, right? You can cut some things out and put what's appropriate online, you know, to your family standards or your moral standard, whatever it is. And yeah, so just being authentic, consistent is kind of two things that my wife and I, she does content as well, shout out to her, that we kind of stand and live by.
To anyone that's watching this, and you know, it leads on to my last question, and you kind of already touched that when it comes to social media, and it's a good advice for anyone that wants to do content creating. You know, a lot of people, what's content creating? That's the prime example. And being consistent is easier when it's your everyday life. It's easier. You can just put a camera and post it. The youth, because our demographic is mostly the youth that's listening, not just in Tonga but around the world, and see you, Cyrus, and what you've done. What advice would you have for them?
I think a lot of people, when it comes to content, they are kind of waiting on the perfect moment, the perfect lighting, the perfect situation. Oh, I'm going to do content when I travel to another country or to the beach, or just record everything and anything and post it. Because when it comes, the great thing about social media is there's so many people using these platforms like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, that there's always going to be an audience for whatever. We call it a niche. Like whatever is basically a niche is like what your content is about. It could be like if your niche is, let's say, you're about football or rugby or whatever, or cooking, right? There's always going to be an audience. And I think once people get over that hump, it's funny because it's an imaginary wall, like a fear that people like, you know, or validation. They feel that, you know, people aren't going to like their content or, you know, things like that. But if you just be consistent, be yourself, that's all people, you know, are really looking for. Because at the end of the day, everybody in this world are consumers, and they just want to be able to swipe and see a video that makes them happy or gives them some type of motivation. So to me, I always use this term. I say content is king. Obviously, Jesus is king. But you know, just for reference of this, you know, content is king because, like I said, you can either be a personal brand, a storefront. You could, let's say you have a store, right? And we'll use a bakery, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say your bread isn't better than 2 blocks down. They have way better bread than you. But if your content and your marketing is better and more eyes are on it, they're going to come get your bread, right? And that's actually with a lot of brands is their competition a lot of times are better
Better.
than them, but they have better marketing, and people are going to come to that bakery and eat that bread, even though they don't know 2 blocks down with a bakery that has no marketing, right,
Yeah.
has the best bread in the world.
It is so funny you said that because my kids come up to me and he goes, Dad, we just saw this chocolate called the Dubai.
The Dubai chocolate.
Yeah. And we go to New Zealand, and my kids were born in New Zealand. We go to New Zealand a lot, and my opinion, New Zealand chocolate is the premium chocolate around the world. But they're like da 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 about Dubai chocolate. Had it, and I was right. New Zealand chocolate is better.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's
Dubai,
because the marketing and my kids, like I saw it on TikTok, everyone's eating it and da 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 da. And
That's all it is.
When we had it, I'm like, exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
But we've already brought it, and it's expensive chocolate, and just for us to break it up into a thing, and then and my kids rarely give away chocolate.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, if you want that, Dad, you can have it.
Yeah.
Like I said, obviously in their mind, the New Zealand chocolate is better.
better.
But it's that marketing thing. It was just all over TikTok. Everyone's eating it,
That's all
and
it is.
I get it.
Yeah, and if you and now the plus is if you do have the best product or whatever it is, and your marketing is great, the sky's the limit.
Oh, the sky,
You're gonna,
and if they had it, and then it's nice.
oh man, forget
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
No, that's really what it comes down to is the marketing and the content. And I know I keep talking about, hey, like people out there in different countries, hey, book the ticket, this and that, but this is also for everybody on the island. Just create the content. Like for me, if you guys have seen my page, there's decent numbers, there's a couple million of views. I was telling you earlier, I just have this $10 tripod, right, and a phone, and maybe some people see my stuff, are like, oh, he has a crew, an editing crew. No, I use a free app to edit called CapCut, and a $10 tripod, and that's it. And that $10 tripod and that free app has paid for this whole trip, right?
And the content I saw in Hamonga, I can hear your wife talking, so I'm guessing you've got a free person video.
Exactly. So we'll switch off. She does content, and I'll record some stuff for her.
Yeah.
And it is nice, I will say, if you are just getting into content, it's kind of nice to have someone you're comfortable with behind the camera versus just like a random person you hire or because you can be yourself a bit more. Like my wife, I can be funny.
Yes.
So.
I find it true with me and my co-host. If we're here and no one's around and we have the camera, we find ourselves be more than us trying to doing it in public.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
When people's like, "What are those two doing?" And it's kind of like, okay, we don't go too crazy, but in this little room we go. Yeah, you bananas because it's just us and the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right. That's funny.
Thank you for finding time for me and not only that, thank you for responding. I know you must get a lot of messages on your TikTok to jump on and before we sign out, if you have any shout outs or anyone that you want to shout out to, please do it now, Cyrus, before we sign out.
Yeah. Oh, I will talk about the messages. I've been seeing a lot of messages of hey, I saw you at Day 5. Hey, I saw you at the beach. And, it's like, if you guys see me, please, I'm not, I'm just because I have, content up and all these views and all this, I'm no more, or less than anybody. We're all, the same. I'm just a human being. I wake up the same way you guys wake up, eat the same food you guys eat. So please, stop by. I love interacting with people. So if you guys ever see me, please come say what's up. I never get bothered. I actually like it a lot. So as far as that point, and then shout outs. I shout out to God, I guess, man, for making all this happen. And I'm very humbled. I just feel so blessed to be here on this island. It's awesome to just see how much Tonga has to offer and provide, especially when you become a family man. I'm seeing that my little immediate family and my family that will come in, enjoying the fruits of Tonga. And, when a place can provide that, I think it just makes it that more special. And Tonga has so much fruit to provide, literally, and
Yeah, literally.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I guess one last shout out in Kolofo, shout out to Small Town Cuts. They get me.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
You know, I thought I was gonna get butchered. My hair,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know. You know, that's the American in me being oblivious, right?
I went the next day and it was packed. So I was like, oh, I wonder if this this had to do with that video.
And so a friend of mine, I grew up with Saya Pocola. We grew up in California together.
Yeah.
And he moved out here. He lives out here, opened up a barber shop. And so he said, hey, come by. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And actually, I've been getting better haircuts here than in America. So that's another thing for you people. Hey, like there's the people out here, outstanding bread, outstanding restaurants, coffee, and the haircuts are amazing.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cyrus, for coming here. And I've seen firsthand, so people please approach him. I've seen firsthand when we had coffee this morning, and this lady wanted to take a photo with him and his wife. So he walked in, and she was with the kids. Still, she came out and took the photo. So please, he's not just saying that. I've seen it firsthand. So please approach him and say hi.
Please do.
And thank you very much for being here.
Of course. Oh, can we say one more thing?
Yeah.
One last thing, I promise you guys. I've kind of noticed growing up in the Tongan way that we're very humble people. We don't want to bother or ask anything, right? There's a shell I feel like with our people, just because we're so respectful.
Yeah.
I want to take this time to just urge people to, push them to, hey, break out of the shell. If you want to shoot content, if you love acting, if you love singing, us Tongans, we're not limited. We're very talented people. Some of the most talented people I've ever seen when it comes to singing, everything and anything. So for me, just to end off with this, I guess save the best for last. To all my, Tongan people out there, and anybody, but especially the people here, please break out of your shell. Be free. Be what you want to be. Obviously, be respectful while you're doing it, and don't abuse that. But just be who you want to be. So that's what I want to end it off with.
And that's the way we're going to end it. Thank you very much. Ofatu.
Ofatu, eh?